Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we assemble to explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, 1 minute at a time. In this, our 6th season, we are looking at the Avengers. I'm Andy Nelson from the Next Reel Film Podcast.
And I'm Pete Wright, and tonight I stoke the fires of animosity, Andy. As grudges are levied, grievances are aired.
That's right, we're talking about minute 117, which begins with Nat being sure, and ends with Clint pointing an arrow right at us! Back on the show today, it's not Mike Gravano. Sorry, Mike.
Nope.
It is the Timeline Scavengers themselves.
Nope, yeah. He is not welcome here.
I tell you.
He knows what he did.
We gotta say what happened yesterday. Mike was displeased because Mike didn't do the minute math correctly and picked the wrong minute.
No.
And when we told him who was going to be on the show, his words were, I hate those guys, James and Colin. I hate those guys.
It's PG-13, so our responses are...
We'll take him off air.
I don't think we're allowed to
we'll take him off air.
Yeah.
But he knows what he did. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, we love Mike. And also, the random number generator wins again.
Now, wait a minute. So you're telling us that you actually, this was one of the 4 random minutes that you picked?
Colin, right?
I think I may have requested this one too.
Did you say this?
Because
what would you?
Because of the blast.
Oh, okay, maybe.
I'm pretty sure that it was 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, Mike will hate you even more if this was just randomly.
Well, we should tell Mike one story, and then the other story can be the true one.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
You guys have the truth.
The animosity for Mike that I have not felt in months and months and months just came roaring back. What a guy. What a guy.
He's seething right now. He's just, he doesn't even know what's happening.
He doesn't even know
He's
why.
Just mad. Yeah.
Oh, he can feel it.
I'm going to get a text in like 30 minutes going, I don't know why, but I feel like I'm even more angry at you. And I'm like, don't tell you, man.
Well, this minute starts with Steve checking, he's checked in with Nat to make sure she's confident with this decision that she's going to do. And she says, it's going to be fun. This is, of course, the move that she wants to do to get up to the top of Stark Tower. And her decision is, boost me with your shield, flip me into the air so I can grab onto a chariot, and then I'm going to take it over from the Chitauri on it and basically pilot myself up to the top of Stark Tower so that I can confront whoever is up there and see if I can stop this thing. That's essentially the plan.
Yeah, it's the most expensive U.S. government funded springboard to have ever existed.
This is my favorite line reading that I've seen. We haven't met Black Widow in our timeline yet, but like the way that she, like we've met her on your show and whatever. The reading of this line, it humanizes her. It's funny, but it's also like there's a tension built. Everything about this, the way she reads this line, is absolutely perfect in my mind.
Pete, this feels very much like the director's kind of comedy threads coming through. Would you say that that's a fair thing for Tig Notaro?
100%. This feels so much like a Buffy reading or a Firefly reading.
Yes.
This is his stock and trade is being able to direct people to give this kind of aw shucks kind of humor.
If you didn't know who was directing this, you do now. It's been a long time. You're 117 minutes in, but
oh yeah, you do. You do. Just a reminder, just a little poke.
Sure.
Yeah, Tig was here.
Yeah.
Well, I like that we had you two on last time. We were talking about the 360 almost camera move around our team. And this is essentially a 360-degree spin that Black Widow, probably Heidi Moneymaker, Natasha, or Scarlett's stunt double, does off of this shield as she jumps off of a car onto the shield, does a 360 spin as she's boosted up into the air to grab onto a Chitauri chariot that's flying overhead. First of all, it's amazing that they put this thing together so quickly. The fact that there happens to be a chariot exactly at that spot kind of wows me that they timed it so perfectly, and she doesn't just go up and then and come right back down. But it's incredibly fun, and it's just great to kind of get a sense of like how smart they are as far as like strategizing and putting something like this together quickly in a way that works, in a way that's it's really fun, really cool.
I have two questions. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
One is a clarification, because we were talking about this with the aforementioned fantastic Mike Gravano, who wishes he was here right now. We were talking about how she could like peg how does she know there's a thing up there? But in the minute you see her clocking the sleds going over her, and her eyes keep going up. So she marks when to leave, when that thing's going to be flying over her head. I buy it. I buy it because there are a ton of them. There are like 6 more in her field of view. So it makes sense to me. But my question, Andy, I think this goes to you, because I don't think we've talked about this with you guys. But maybe we did. This is back on Captain America. We had some significant issues with the vibranium shield and what it does when it meets other forces.
Sure.
What should happen to her as she meets the vibranium shield?
She's not bouncing off of it. I think it's more of like him pushing her up.
Yeah.
There's a difference with her. Like, I mean, the whole idea of the vibranium shield, technically, a bullet that hits it would basically be act like a cotton ball hitting it. It would just be so soft, no sound. It would just kind of completely absorb anything, and it would just kind of fall to the ground completely harmless. And to that end, sure, there should be no action from her that would kind of affect anything. But he also is pushing. And so I think more than anything, that's really what's happening is he's essentially, I mean, it could be, a car door, really. It doesn't really matter that it's the shield. It could just be something that she jumps onto. And he just, with his super strength, pushes her up.
Well, I just wonder how much purchase she would get against it with her feet meeting the thing. Like, would she be able to land hard enough to stick to be lifted into the air? That's
probably because she would. I mean, especially because it's at an angle, right? It's mostly flattened, like not fully, but it's like at an angle. But I feel like if she impacts, it stops that movement, that momentum, and so she can kind of squat a little bit so that when it is, I mean, my springboard joke was actually fairly truthful, because that is it is acting as the board and he is the spring to push her up so that she can launch upwards. And it actually probably works better than like a car door, because she can effectively, I hate that I have to use this word, but like kind of grip so that she can have the actual like stopping and control to go upwards without, I don't know, slipping off the side or whatever.
Probably one of the more realistic uses of the shield.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Probably the only realistic.
Yeah,
right.
probably.
Because is there a reflective quality? We'll get to it. That's fine.
So she's off and away, and I gotta say, that moment of Cap as he kind of watches her go and kind of almost gives like a little half smile, I kind of want to think that he's just fallen in love with her a little bit in that moment.
I think it's a little bit, to me at least,
professional respect.
I was going to say, to me, I think it's a little bit of being reminded of Peggy. Because like she can't necessarily do like the major flips, but I feel like there's a lot of like, this, like, I have been with a spy, my entire professional career. And it's like, I kind of forget they do stuff like that.
Yeah, making weird stuff happen. Yeah. Just real quick about Heidi Moneymaker. We just talked about Heidi Moneymaker. It's so funny because, like, it's the most amazing name. Just Heidi Moneymaker, hire me. Like, it's just, perfect.
Yeah,
anyway.
It is great. It is great. Well, Cap is battling the Chitauri that are all coming toward him. Nat, as we follow her, she is now working her way up onto the back sled of the chariot, and we see her get up there. She cuts the line that the gunner is attached with and kicks him off, and then she kind of does this thing where she grabs onto both parts of like the handholds. I'm not exactly sure.
She like jumps the turnstile of the chariot.
Yeah. And she uses those to kind of launch her forward into the Chitauri pilot, who again is using his little shoulder things. And as she does so, she drives two blades into each side of his back, and then uses the Chitauri itself to steer the chariot around.
Smart.
Yeah, I mean, do you like the way that she's doing all this? Does it work for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what do you think of the effects?
I will say, maybe this is, if we're not there yet, I'd never noticed until the fifth time watching it for this, and I've watched it more times than that. I never noticed that she is pulling a Yui, and we're not quite there yet. And I really like the way that I'm always noticing how she's like not running into a building, like she's like easy, gotta get in control of the things. Right, but she's actually, because we'll get to it in a second, but like, I never fully appreciated what she's doing with this, because it sort of feels like she's just barely sort of controlling, but she's actually kind of pulling a maneuver there, and I really appreciate it. And it works absolutely for me.
It works for me because of the fact that, like, anytime you're like, hi, we have this ship or whatever that works through, who knows, biology, like, that's just sort of, it's vague. Anytime you do something that sort of is like, okay, I'm trying to find a way to, like, effectively, like, I don't know what to say, like, hack it, but, like, without, like, a computer, like, it's like it is literally like a biological hack, effectively.
Like an
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Like, she's creating her own interface in this way. Also, like, getting the guy, like, right in, like, the joints and part of his body that he would to turn. So, like, it's not like she's putting him, like, in, like, random spots just to kind of kill him or get him or whatever. She's getting him, like, right where there is, like, a fine motor piece of his body, which I think is very cool.
Thank goodness the Chitauri biology is so similar to the human biology.
Mm-hmm.
All the way
Right.
up to the face, and then the face is just all bets are off. What I like about it is that the Chitauri, the back Chitauri, are connected to the sled by like old school pigtail telephone cords, like Radio Shack remnants. I think that's a really nice. No, those umbilicals are coiled, and I think that's, they're sturdy, and you want them to be able to compress and not take up so much space. I think that's classy.
I think it's more like a chain, actually. You think
I think it's like DNA. It's like two curled
Like a helix.
cables together.
Yeah.
Organic. It's all organic. There's no chain action in there, right?
I don't know, about 20 seconds. There's
Yeah.
a frame where it looks like...
No, you're right. But it doesn't look like... It looks like hoops now.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
20 seconds. All right, cut all that. It's just garbage. Hot garbage. I was at the wrong second. Once again, hot garbage.
Maybe it's both. You know how light is both a particle and
Right.
a wave. Maybe it's both a chain and
Maybe
a
it's a
helix.
chain and
Yeah,
hoops.
Mike, sometimes I'm
Hoop.
so sorry.
And-
You had the wrong second, so I got it
How
wrong.
dare
so
you?
Pete, no, I just needed to make that joke.
Everybody gets a
Yeah.
turn.
What's interesting about the way that the Chitauri gunner, just to like talk about this guy who is like attached, like it looks like it's going right like into the center of its back. And it's like, it's not holding on to anything. Like, what is the point of that chain? Is it in case it falls off so that it just dangles below until the pilot finally realizes, oh, you're not on anymore? Because it's not like,
Just like hanging, bouncing off of cars.
yeah,
on
it
the
just
streets
seems
below.
like a weird system. Like, if you're going to be chained on, be chained from the front into the front part of it. So, it's a terrible system.
But then it might be in the way of the gun,
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
Even the floor in front, like, it just
True,
doesn't make any
yeah.
sense being chained to the backside of this thing. Like, I don't get
it
it.
feels like maybe also repellable as well. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure, like, where they're supposed to, like, connect, disconnect, like, if they need to jump off or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. That's a very good question. I feel like sometimes these are one of those things where you go, aesthetically, this looks great. And then someone goes, hey, what's the point of this? And they go, I don't care for this question, so I'm not going to answer it.
Yeah,
Moving on.
right. Look what she does to its back. Right. Exactly.
It's a
Yeah.
vestigial chain. It used to have a purpose, but
It's one of those things where they go, hey, no one's going to, like, break this down into seconds or a minute. Like, no one, don't worry about it.
Exactly. Who would do
That's
something crazy like
ridiculous.
that? Exactly.
And then 20 years later.
Well, as you said, James, we do get this little Yui that she turns here. It's a really hard... I wish that it was cut together a little better, because honestly,
Me
it's a little
too.
hard to tell
Mhm.
what's happening here. But she does turn a Yui, because what happens is she has to get back to the place that they had been, because we go from her turning the Yui to the start of this fantastic oner that tracks all 6 of our heroes. We're going to, of course, it gets split between this minute and tomorrow's minute, but we do get the start of it as she is now returning the direction that she came. There's another Chitauri chariot that comes up behind her. Iron Man comes up and takes them out, and then we're following him, and we go down to see him helping Cap. And then we continue following Iron Man as he flies up the side of 120 Park Avenue, taking more Chitauri out, and we land on Hawkeye, who shoots a Chitauri in the face and then aims right into our face. And that's pretty much where the minute goes. But that's all a one shot, and it's pretty cool the way that they've constructed it. So yeah, James, starting at the U-turn.
Yeah, the acrobatics, so to speak, that my brain had to do to be like, they left Cap behind. She gets the chariot. They're going really fast. Iron Man's going really fast. How does Cap get from there to all the way down to where they meet up with him? And I was like, James, I bet, what if they turn the ship around and then they go back? Because that's also why Hawkeye's there. Since I saw Avengers for the first time, that shot has been like a linear thing, and I never put together that there's a Cap at the beginning and a Cap at the end.
But you know what's interesting is that to me, it's always been a 90-degree until we started talking about it. I mean, just a minute ago, because they don't give you enough of the cut to actually think about the fact that she has to turn them all the way. It really looks like a left turn.
Yeah.
And there is a 90-degree also, and that was throwing me for a while too, because Iron Man, as we're following him, when we're like staring at his feet, right around 40 seconds or so, 42 seconds, he's turning 90 degrees from whatever it must be like just below 42nd Street up back onto Park Avenue to join Cap. So there are these moves throughout this that are kind of hard to tell because we end up so close to the action sometimes that it makes it a little tricky to track.
I'm watching Pete do the math, visually.
Because she turns off. Like, she goes a different way, and now
they cut away before she actually hits the Yui.
Yeah, that's not good, Tig.
Yeah, it's like a weird cut on action where we're going to cut on action, but we're going to come in and the action's already mostly done.
But the thing is, they're like frames off. Like, it feels like they're so close to fixing it, like totally snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yes. It is frustrating. But it is a great oner, and this is really the design. Sure. Again, kind of following last time that we had you two on, it was the hero shot. We're looking at all of our heroes. This is another moment where it's kind of a celebratory shot because we're actually going to construct a shot where we actually get to see what each of the team members are doing to kind of help defeat the Chitauri. And we're starting with Natasha as she's on this sled and she's working to kind of fight these things. We see Iron Man, and we'll see Captain America, and we'll see Hawkeye all in this part of it. I mean, how does it play? Do you like the way that we're doing this oner to kind of build this sense of the team?
Every single time I watched it, I was like, this is what we're here for.
Yep.
This is what we signed up for. Is like Iron Man. Now, we haven't gotten Iron Man in our stuff yet. Never, like, in my mind, Iron Man never looks this cool before or after. Like, this shot where it's like blam, 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 land, combo, take off, more combo. Oh, so good.
I
so
agree.
Good.
I think there's only like one moment in Infinity War where I feel like he kind of comes close to it. But it's also like, I don't like that suit as much, but so that kind of cheapens it for me. But like, I think, again, kind of like what I was talking about earlier in our last episode here of being reminiscent of what the comics look like. That's exactly like, there are sometimes you get those splash pages where you get, a bunch of frames and like action shots where there's no dialogue. It's just like, okay, we've been talking, we've done all this stuff, and now here it is, like in like the plan in motion. And so, seeing all those different things, and it's almost like a open concept version of a hallway scene for Marvel, right? Because Marvel loves to do those one-shot hallway fights, and that's sort of what this is. It is what is a hallway but just 42nd Street?
A street, yeah, exactly. That's I think the opposite, but yeah.
Okay. But I think that like, if anything, the most comic booky moment though to me, for sure, because this is literally ripped from pages and also from video games. is the moment where Iron Man is fighting and then like kind of comes and swoops in for a landing and is like sliding to a stop while prepping a move. And then as he stops, using the repulsors to create a beam in which the shield can reflect and just sort of lay people out in one of the coolest maneuvers. And it's one of the things that I don't know if it was like something that existed and we cut it for time or what. It's one of the things that...
The training montage?
Oh, no. I meant more of, this is something that I desperately wanted them to do one last time in Endgame. Like, to me, if you had a moment on the battlefield where, as they're fighting, for him to land and do that move, because, he has a moment with Rescue where they're not actually shooting anything. When they do a kind of a somewhat similar move, but if they had done that, like, with Cap, it would have just felt like, I don't know, it just would have come like really close to home.
Is Endgame the one with the Thor and Cap, like with the shield and the hammer, and they keep like hitting and tossing it back and forth and whatever? Or am I making up a scene?
Yeah.
Is that Endgame?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's definitely like that sort of teamwork happening in that film. So we definitely still have that, but there's not. To your point, we're not seeing it with Iron Man using it in this capacity where, hey, you've got that fantastic shield. I'm going to blast it, and then you can pivot to kind of take out a bunch of Chitauri. It's an incredibly cool move to see how they do it here.
Well, and frankly, they should be bouncing everything off that. Like, Thor should throw his hammer at it and bounce that into somebody. Like, everything should get bounced off of that shield. It's awesome. It's a power move. That's what Cap does. He's the bouncing guy.
We've bounced Natasha. We've bounced the repulsor beam.
That's all of it.
Now I want to have in our last minute together, instead of Tony offering him a ride, Cap says, "No, just hop on my shield. I'll bounce you up there."
Exactly.
Let's go.
Get ready.
Come on, Legolas.
But he just puts it on his back with Tony on like a ninja turtle. Just like, all right, let's go.
Right. So Tony flies up the side of the building, and as he does, he kind of blasts a few Chitauri, and then I was like, why doesn't he take out those last two that are like right next to Hawkeye? Like, it seems like that would probably be helpful because there's two coming up pretty close. But if you go frame by frame, you see that Tony actually does this spin, and he's flying backwards. So it's like he's not even noticing that those two are there. But then it also, to a certain extent, we are in a position where we kind of need to see Hawkeye also doing something cool.
Yeah, he's
we've already
also
talked
there.
about him. Yeah, not getting enough cool moments. And this is kind of that moment where it's like, okay, he's going to take that Chitauri and he's going to shoot him right in the face. And not only that, but he is so fast that he ducks to dodge a few blasts from a Chitauri. Yeah. So he's pretty good here.
Are we in agreement that it is cool?
I would say yes, because they're doing two things here, right? One,
I just want to say all of you hedged on that question before.
No, I saw the hesitancy from them, but like my thought on this part of the scene is that like seeing it in theaters the first time, I think I was like, cool, because it was a whole part of, like a fuller picture, right? Looking at it when it's sort of separate, you're probably kind of like, okay, and Hawkeye's there too, right? Like, go Clint, but there's also now new context to that scene, which is what I was going to bring up. But I think that the cool thing that they're doing here, they're doing two things. One, they are setting up future footage for another Marvel's, series, and they do it unbelievably well when they like pull it back to that, like in a future date, just chef's kiss. Like shots that I don't know if they just came from bonus footage where they got like extra coverage for stuff, or if they just again redid some of that stuff. Either way, they did it perfectly. The second thing that they did is they set up the shot for a type of technology that we just truly don't use anymore and is so like in the past, but that's the 3D shot. This was if you got the 3D glasses for this show, this was one of those moments.
You would get an arrow to the face.
Yeah, you were going to get the arrow coming at you, just like, Cap throws the shield in slow motion.
Like in Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Because he, in Cap, First Avenger, he throws the shield like super slow-mo so that it like comes out at you. And that's what this is going to be. It's going to be like, so that you'll freak out and be like, my God. Yeah, exactly. Train. And you'll freak out, but then they'll go, haha, just kidding. it's not actually coming at you. Whoa, cinema.
When the train crashes through the movie theater.
It's I mean, this is definitely the era of trying to come up with the next era after, of course, the 50s, but trying to come up with those cool the next arrow. That's right. Coming up with things for those 3D moments. It's fun. I mean, honestly, it works. They're having a lot of fun here. And okay, Clint's not necessarily getting to do as much cool stuff as some of these other characters, but you know what? He's still in the fight. And that's what we get out of this. So
why did they make the Chitauri make like a dog noise? Like that noise was haunting me.
I think it's to make them animalistic, so we don't feel bad. Because if they're too human,
I guess it'd be better than.
I never noticed it. It's a whimper. You're absolutely right. It's awful.
If he was like ouchie, 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 you would just be like, oh, that's silly.
See, this is what we made the Wilhelm scream for, and I just don't know why we wouldn't.
Because I feel like that's still too humanistic. I think that makes you feel bad for the guy. I feel like you shouldn't feel bad for the Chitauri.
No. I'm just a pawn.
There are some funny Chitauri sounds that I've heard throughout the film as we've been kind of watching this that I often forget to bring them up because it's just one of those things where it's like, the weird Chitauri sounds. But they are kind of funny, and there have been some odd noises emanating from them.
There are definitely times where I'm like, I'm not sure if they know what animal they're supposed to be kind of replicating the sound because they have so many different ones.
Exactly.
Yeah,
a little tricky.
You know what's funny is that the bow and arrow guy, like being the most close range fighting that we see in this scene is pretty funny. Like, he's like right there. It's like, dude, that it's a ranged weapon, my friend. Let's
and that's actually really funny. And obviously, it's Hawkeye.
Threw an arrow off the building.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you just stab the guy, man.
It's Hawkeye. Obviously, we want him using his arrows because that's kind of what he's known for. But yeah, would be a perfect moment to pull out that fantastic dagger that he has that he was fighting Natasha with in the helicarrier. Use that in this moment. That would make more sense because then you're not losing an arrow to something that you're going to take down. But oh, well.
I think the big thing, though, that for sure has to happen is at some point, at least one does have to get close by simply because they have to do a very classic, I'm out of arrows. And that's, a little bit of foreshadowing. But I think that's one of as far as like ranged weapon guys go in this sort of regard, I feel like that's always like almost like a trope of like you reach back and it's empty and you're like, so you have to like find either something that you can make a makeshift one out of or pull an old one out.
Arrows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So having them
go to the
close
store
helps.
and use your gold.
You quickly
arrows.
search your map. You pause the game. You look at your map and go, where's the nearby cache? Okay, let me put a pinpoint. Let me fast travel.
Coming from the scavengers themselves. Where's their pot of gold, right?
Arrow scavengers.
Oh, well. All right, you two, let's wrap this minute up. It's been great chatting with you again. Minute 117. Tell everybody again one last time about your podcast and where they can tune in.
Sure. We are the Timeline Scavengers. You can find us at Timeline Scav on Twitter and, wherever you get your podcasts. We are going through the MCU in historical order, which means we're starting with the beginning of time and ending with the end of time and then everything in between. But like flashbacks take place when the flashback took place as opposed to when the flashback is happening. And real quick fun fact, Colin and I have a plan for how we're going to do big battle scenes, which is when I was watching this, hurting my brain how we're going to actually make the organization of this work.
Yeah, because the Battle of New York is like one big thing.
Right. Yeah. And so we've talked about following a character for an episode. Like this is the Iron Man's view of the Battle of New York or whatever. But when you're going to weave in and out of characters, it's going to be like timestamp central, even more than it has been before. So we'll have to figure out what we're going to do with that. But
tricky.
Yeah, it's gonna our show's gonna be there forever. So come join us. We're gonna be sort of finishing up MCU Origins and then going into Captain Marvel to close out 2023.
Yeah, we will die before the MCU does.
I guarantee it.
I don't know anything about that feeling. I have a question. Last time you were on, we were talking about lessons that you've learned from watching this. Do you have any new insights? I'm curious if you've discovered any continuity foibles that really stick out to you watching these in order.
But not like Howard Stark looks different sort of stuff?
Yeah, there's been a few here and there. I think sometimes it comes from either, again, like the idea of we filmed these two things so separately, and now we need to find a way to make things work, so things kind of get retconned a little bit. But also, for sure, there's been moments where I don't necessarily know if it's continuity, but it is a thing of when you're watching it quickly and there's a 5-second moment, you don't really take the time to think in full why that moment is there. But once you are really looking at it through a very small little, magnifying glass or whatever, suddenly you go, wait, why would they say this? Or why would they do this? So it gets continuity weird in terms of would this character actually do or say this? This feels strange.
There's a part in, I'm listening, I'm like Wicked Mind on my own show, but a part I'm listening to, I just was super clever shouting out myself on a synopsis where they, Howard is talking to Peggy about Project Rebirth and explaining to her about Project Rebirth when they were both they were both there. Howard, I know, man. I was there.
Right.
The part that you said, and then I was like this. That was me.
Right.
That was me.
So stuff awesome. Like that, where it's I didn't think about it when I was watching the show, but once you've spent so much time in Captain America, then to go into Agent Carter and be I know that you have to reestablish stuff for a show.
Yeah,
right.
And for the audience.
It's weird how you'd reestablish that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So,
but it's an awesome show. Everybody should subscribe.
Thank you.
I love the show.
Thank you.
It's an easy subscribe.
Definitely check it out. We'll have the links in the show notes. We certainly appreciate you two joining us. This is your last time this season, so thank you so much for being a part of Season 6 of The Avengers. We definitely appreciate having you both.
Thank you for adding this season to the end of that. I was like, oh boy. Tough news to take alive.
Right.
It was a judgment call right in the moment.
Last time this season,
definitely appreciate it. Thank you both so much. We'll be back tomorrow with another guest for minute 118.
Mike Gravano.
Yeah.
So Pete, thanks as always.
Oh, Andy, tomorrow we get some heroic bros riding Big Worm into the ground.
But we're not here next. Oh, it's never mind. Forget it.
Oh, I see what you did there. You took it again. You took the ball.
Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Message to the World by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at truestory.fm. If your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.